What is up everyone, Movie Way, I'm back again with another top 10 video, and this is gonna be my top 10 most nostalgic movies. Now, I came up with this list because my good friend Phil sent me a Blu-ray the other week and I opened it up in a subscriber mail video. I'll leave it down below if you want to check it out. But I won't name the movie just yet because it is in this top 10 list. But it just got me thinking, what are some movies that I used to watch constantly as a kid? And I just got all these nostalgic thoughts back, thinking, oh, I used to love this part of the movie. And I was speaking to my sister saying, do you remember we used to watch this? And I even asked her what were some movies that we used to watch all the time. She gave me a couple that I'd totally forgotten about. And I've came up with this solid top 10 list. It's more of a personal thing, but you know, I thought you guys might be able to enjoy this video because if you're around my age, you might actually have these as nostalgic films. And what are your most nostalgic films? It'd be great to hear what yours are. I will reply to everyone in the comments if you want to get down there and share your lists as well. Now, these are mainly just family orientated films. There are one or two in here that are a little bit questionable in some parts of the movie, but for the most part, these are films that I used to watch before I kind of got into horror and, you know, more adult action orientated films. And a lot of these aren't on Blu-ray here in the UK, and it'd be great if they could release them. But anyway, let's just get into it with number 10. Number 10 is going to be Hocus Pocus. Now, this is a film that captures the true feeling of Halloween. I mean, it's one of them that you can just put on over that holiday season and feel like it belongs in watching in October. But what I love about this are the Sanderson sisters and the three main protagonists that we get who take them on. So, you know, these three sisters who've come back from centuries ago, put a curse on this town, decide to come back when a virgin lights the candle in this cursed house that they used to live in, and they come and wreak havoc. But they're so stuck in the old century ways that they just can't adjust to life in the modern times. Like, they see a tarred road and they go, oh, what is it? It's a black river. They don't know what to do, whether to step foot in it, and one of them pushes Sarah Jessica Parker's character into the road and they all jump up and scream like she's gonna drown, stuff like that. And there's a guy dressed as a devil later on, because it's Halloween night, of course, and they refer to him as Master, and the devil's wife is getting really, really annoyed with them. It's just such a fun movie, but we do really get behind these three protagonists, Max and his sister, played by Thora Birch, and Alison as well, who's Max's little love interest in this. And they've also got these two bullies to contend with who always call him Hollywood because he's moved from Los Angeles. It's just a really, really fun movie with some great music. I Put a Spell on You is a great song that, you know, Bette Midler's character, one of the Sanderson sisters, sings in the middle of the movie. It's just a really, really feel-good film, and one that I could revisit every year. But I used to watch this constantly. My sister was a big fan of this movie, so yeah, me and her just really, really like this one. So yeah, number 10 is Hocus Pocus. Number 9 is going to be Return from Witch Mountain, another Disney film. Now, my nan babysat me and my sister years ago, and she brought this film over. I'd never heard of it, but my mum said, oh yeah, I've seen that when I was a kid. It's a really, really cool movie. So I was like, okay, let's just watch it, and wow, it was. I mean, this had such an awesome feel to it. It's about these two kids who, they come over from another planet, basically, and hang around with these other kids who are like walking the streets and, you know, in like a tough area, and they've got like this mind control or telekinesis, if you like, and they can sense danger as well when someone is about to be in trouble. So this crazy doctor is doing an experiment, and this subject that he's experimenting on, one of his friends, is about to fall off a building. So Tony, the young boy, senses that and goes to try and help him, but they sort of overtake his mind and start using him to rob banks and stuff, and you know, they're using his mind control to get all these gold bars into their car. It's just a really strange, but like I said, a cool film, and it's up to his sister to come and try and rescue him from the hands of these captors. Now, one of the captors in this film is Christopher Lee. I love him in every film I see him in. I just think he's got this awesome deep voice, and he always plays a great villain. You got Bette Davis in there as well, who is his little sidekick. But it's got a really vintage feel to it. You can tell it's right out of the 70s. And they really don't make films like this anymore. Now, when I first got Disney Plus, this was the first film I watched, because there's actually a tab on there called Nostalgic Films, I believe. I think it's called that. And Return from Witch Mountain is in there. So that was the first thing I watched. I thought, I haven't seen this movie in years. I was so happy to give it another go. And even though it's not as good as what I remember, I still had a fun time with it. But this is the middle of a 3-part movie series. You got Escape from Witch Mountain and another one with The Rock in. The name of that film has escaped me. I haven't seen either of them, to be honest. I don't know why. Obviously it's because my nan brought it over, but I don't know why I haven't got to them 2 films. Maybe I should. I think they're on Disney Plus as well. But number 9 is Return from Witch Mountain. Number 8 is going to be Matilda, Roald Dahl's novel brought to the screen here, directed by Danny DeVito, I believe, and he also narrates the film. And it really does actually work, because he's just got such a great voice to go along with telling this story of this young girl who is adopted, kind of, I think it's by her uncle or something, I can't quite remember, but she is adopted by this family who just really don't like her at all. And they're just very mean to her, and she sort of finds her place when she goes to school and meets all these wonderful people like Miss Honey and all her friends, and she realises that, you know, she needs to get away from this family basically, because they're just not like her. And she is a very clever young girl, and she also has these magical powers, kind of like telekinesis, like in Return from Witch Mountain that I was just talking about. But this has just got so many great moments, so many great characters. Danny DeVito is also in the movie. He is the dad who has adopted her, and he's just a great performance by him as Mr. Wormwood. But you got the Trunchbull, who is a great villain for a family-friendly movie. I mean, she's absolutely terrifying, but very level. You know, not to the point where it's over the top or anything. Although she does swing a girl by her pigtails over some railings there. And when Matilda goes home and tells her dad, he goes, "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." Oh my god, it did actually happen though, and all these kids getting locked in the chokey. So it's a really nice school with a terrible headmaster there. But you know, there's just so many other good moments, like Bruce Bogtrotter eating the cake and everyone championing him on. It's just a really good feel-good movie, and at the end you are so happy for all these children when they get rid of this Trunchbull out the school. So I think it's a really clever film. But yeah, you do root for Matilda and stuff. It's a really well made film, and it's kind of timeless. I watched it not long ago when it was just on TV there, and it was as good as I remember back in the day. So number 8 is Matilda. Number 7 is going to be The Pagemaster. This is the film that inspired me to do this video. Thank you, Phil, for sending me that once again, my friend. Now, I love the jump from live action to animation in this film. It just all works so well with all these coloured paint that comes through the library and just turns everything into animation. I mean, we visit these great locations and meet these 3 great characters who are in the form of books, horror, fantasy, and adventure, and we go to 3 different locations that involve their characters. And how can you forget Macaulay Culkin's character going to meet Mr. Jekyll and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde there? And we also go on an adventure where he sees Moby Dick and stuff, and goes into all these stories that are within the library there. But the 3 characters of horror, fantasy and adventure just really work on screen. You know, they're just really funny characters that bounce off each other. And I really do like the arc that Macaulay Culkin goes in. At the start of this movie, he's terrified of everything. He's got all these lights on his bike, you know, just wearing all these safety gear. And at the end of the movie, he's gone through so much that he's overcome his fears. And it's just a really great character arc for, you know, Macaulay Culkin's character there. But this is just a really fun film. I enjoy it every time I watch it, and I'm really looking forward to getting around to it again. It's been a few years now because, like I said, some of these aren't on Blu-ray, but I do own that on, I think it's like an American import there. So thank you, Phil, for sending me that. Can't wait to watch it again, which is going to be very, very soon. Number 6 is going to be Blank Check, yet another Disney film here. And this is one that my auntie brought over when we were really young, when she babysat us. And I fell in love with the movie straight away. I was a kid who was always wanting money. I was always fantasizing about when I was older what I was going to buy. And yeah, you can kind of see it behind me. But yeah, I just really like this story that Preston Waters goes on here, because he gets $1 million, and I was just so in awe of that character. And he spends this money on exactly what I would spend it on, you know, when I was younger, you know, having this fairground and there's back garden and stuff, and just loads of fun things. And you kind of go on the journey with him. And I used to get a kick out of the 3 villains in here as well. One of them is played by Miguel Ferrer, who, you know, you'll remember from RoboCop there, and it is actually his money that Preston has got hold of, and they're chasing him around town, trying to find him, trying to get their money back. But they just have a fun little dynamic as well, where they're just bouncing off each other and, you know, always insulting each other and stuff because they're blaming one another for this money going missing. But me and my sister always used to take the mick out of some of the quotes that they had as well, like the bank owner there who said, he asked this guy if his name's Juice, and he just goes, Juice.
Juice?
He kind of zooms in on his mouth there. Me and Ed always used to laugh at that, but most of you won't find that funny. That's more of a personal thing. Yeah, I mean, I watched this on Disney Plus not long ago. Like I said, I was revisiting some nostalgic films like Return to Witch Mountain there, and it is really strange watching this now, because Preston Waters has this love interest in the movie, and he's like 11 years old and she's like 25 or something. She works at the bank, and the movie really does hint that something could happen between them, and it just gets weirder and weirder as the film goes on, and it's not as good as I remember. Also, it's kind of dated now, but it's just one of them movies as a kid that you really appreciate because someone your age has all this money. So number 6 is Blank Check. Number 5 is going to be a trilogy of films here, and that is the Problem Child trilogy. I wish you could get these on Blu-ray, man. I would buy these in a heartbeat. But this is one of them films that I was talking about at the start of the video, where I think most of these movies are family orientated, but there's so many jokes here that hint towards only adults would get, you know. It's kind of a weird tone that we find ourselves in with these films, especially the first 2. Junior Healy is such a fun character. I love watching him cause mayhem, and he is just, he's really a bad kid really, but everyone around him in the school and stuff are worse. So you actually root for him, you know, even though he's just being this really, really awkward child, everyone else is worse. So you do get behind him as a character, and you got John Ritter in there as Junior Healy's dad, Ben, and he is a great character, you know. You do feel sorry for him a lot of the time, looking after this kid, and he has all these women interested in him and stuff, and he just can't get a minute because this kid is just so problematic. And you've got his dad, Big Ben, who is an arsehole. He's an arsehole in these movies, and every time Junior gets one back on him, you're just so happy. It's always great to see him taking a beating. One moment in this film, I think it's the second one, is this teacher drinks a laxative. Oh my god, I laugh at it every time. He runs to the toilet and just does this, it's just like kind of this big explosion. But on parents' night, he's stood there in these underpants, and it's just so funny to see. It's like a bag around him because, you know, he's damaged his legs that much, and it's like, why would you even go to this parents' evening? You get someone to stand in for you, and he's just walking around the school with these little short bag around him. It's so funny to see. But Yeah, I just absolutely love these movies because they are so funny and so hilarious. The principal, I think he's the principal in the second one, is the guy who does the voice of Jafar's parrot in Aladdin. He's a crazy character, him. There's one moment where he says, I'm just going to put you in the 6th grade because you're too good for this school, so you need to just go to the 6th grade. And Junior says, but my dad says 3rd grade is the founding of my education. And he just says, oh, your dad said, did he? Your dad said, your dad's a moron. He's a moron. I laugh at that every time. I'm laughing at it now thinking about it. It's just, they are really, really fun movies. The first 2 are brilliant. The 3rd one is a little bit lackluster. It's a different kid playing Junior, but I still get a kick out of it. So number 5 is the Problem Child trilogy. Number 4 is going to be Dennis. Now, this is another movie where a child hurt someone. Yes, what am I like? But I really just used to watch this constantly. You know, it's kind of weird to see this kid look up to his neighbour, who's just this like 70-year-old man, and this 70-year-old man is the only person in the world who thinks this kid is bad. And he looks up to him so much. And it's always fun to see Mr. Wilson getting angry at him all the time. He's waited 25 years for this flower to blossom in his back garden, and because Dennis shouts him, he turns away for 1 second and misses it. But we also have Christopher Lloyd in here, who was also in the Pagemaster. He's the librarian in that film. And he plays Switchblade Sam, and he's this robber who comes to town halfway through the film, and Dennis has got to sort of take him on. But he's quite creepy. He's got his own villainous theme tune there, and every time I hear that, I'm like, oh my god, this is really tense. And he just robs everything in sight. I mean, he robs this kid's doll, and what does he want with that? And there's another moment where he walks past this kid who's just sitting there eating an apple, and he sticks a knife in the apple and just robs his apple. He robs everything in sight. But there's a really fun moment at the end, which probably took inspiration from Home Alone, where Dennis has to take him on. Like I said at the start, he's another kid hurting people. There is one moment where he ties a rope around him and this ties it to this train, and the train pulls him, and then the rope snaps and he falls into a canal. But as he's falling into the canal, a wardrobe floats past. So he goes right through the wardrobe. It's a really, really funny film. I haven't seen it for quite a while. I believe it's on Netflix right now, so I probably need to go back and check that out. But Dennis, such a fun movie. Another one we need on Blu-ray there. So, yeah. Number 4 is Dennis. Number 3 is going to be Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Wow, I love this movie to death. I know some people don't and think that it's the weakest of the trilogy. But this was the first Indiana Jones I ever watched, and I was just fascinated with it from start to finish the first time I ever watched this. And it's just, the action never stops. I mean, this is the ultimate adventure film for me, because something is always happening constantly. Every scene, it's just something so different and something you can't take your eyes off. Moments like the monkey brains being in that big palace there. We've got the dungeon under the palace, and they have to walk through this insect, filled room to get there. The fire, that guy getting lowered into the pit of fire there because this cult who are under the palace, in the middle of India there. This is probably the darkest film on this list by a mile, not to mention someone getting ripped apart by alligators at the end of the film. How this ever became a PG movie, I will never know. And I remember I used to have this on VHS, but I taped it off the TV and it was actually edited. And when I watched the full version without any cuts, I was actually quite horrified that this actually did get that PG certificate. But it's got 3 great protagonist to get behind. As much as people think Willie Scott is annoying, I actually really like her character in this film. I love the way she's always complaining and she's just scared of everything, but she's in the middle of this jungle. Indy as well, he's great in the movie with Short Round. I think he's a great little sidekick there. But yeah, I know, like I said, I know this is considered the weakest of the trilogy, or there's 4 films now with a 5th to come. But this is my favourite one, and I know I'm in the minority there, I know that. but I just love this movie to death. I used to watch it all the time. I remember I went a whole week watching this every single day. So that's how much I was obsessed with this film. So yeah, number 3 is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Number 2 is going to be The Witches, another dark movie. You know, not as dark as Temple of Doom, but this was actually more scary. You know, it's a horror film made for kids there, and this used to give me the chills. You know, especially the first 10 minutes where that young girl is kidnapped in the entry there. I thought that was quite horrifying and way too scary for children. I watched it not long ago and I still thought it was pretty tense, where this witch who lives over the road is, you know, stalking her really. She's already made her mind up that she's going to be a victim and stuff, and she's got those purple eyes. But moving on, you know, it's just another Roald Dahl story that we've got here. Man, could that man write. I mean, he made some great novels, hasn't he? But I really like the way the man is always telling the young boy Luke about all these witches and that they're real and stuff, and they do have purple eyes, and she's sort of narrating the story at the start there that give me the chills. But I think, you know, a lot of this, what people remember is the auditorium scene where Luke and his grandma go off to this hotel and the witches are actually staying there with the Grand High Witch, played by Angelica Houston, who's magnificent in this movie. But we all remember when she takes a mask off and she's got this big nose, and it's just amazing practical effects, it really is. Even when the kids are turned into mice, it still feels great to watch. I mean, they done a remake not long ago, and that was all just CGI. It was nowhere near as scary. It was just awful to look at, really. But I did watch this film just before watching that one, and this does still stand the test of time. Me and my sister used to love this movie. I used to watch it constantly. You know when you have a load of VHSs as a kid and you constantly watching them ones because that's what you owned? I mean, I'm talking about people who are in the 30s here, not you younger audience watchers there, but you know when you've just got them VHSs and they're the ones you watch all the time? Well, The Witches was one of them for me. Me and my sister used to laugh constantly at Bruno Jenkins' one-liners here, where they've just been turned into mice and you would be panicking, wouldn't you? But Bruno Jenkins loves his food that much, and he finds this bag and says, "I smell food, is there anything in this bag?" You know, things like that we used to laugh at. So as dark as this movie is, it's got a lot of fun humour in there as well. But yeah, just a really, really fun movie. And Rowan Atkinson's in there as well as this weird hotel manager. Everything just works for me in this film. So yeah, number 2 is The Witches. Number 1 though is going to be a Christmas classic, and that is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Now, admittedly, the first one is slightly better. I do prefer it slightly, but this is a carbon copy anyway. Apart from a few tiny changes, this is virtually the same as the first movie. But why I've put this one on the list is because this is the first ever VHS that I bought, and it's the one I have seen the most. I have seen the first one plenty of times, but this one way more times than that film. Mainly because I owned it on VHS back in the day. My friend Sean, I went over to his house, who was my childhood friend, and we watched it, and I just fell in love with this movie. I remember I wanted to be Kevin McAllister when I was younger. He was the first on-screen character that I looked up to, really. And I thought, when I'm 10, I just want to be like him. But this is another movie where people get hurt. Another child inflicting damage on adults, and boy do they deserve it. Harry and Marv are great characters, and seeing them get hurt in this movie never gets tiring. Some of the traps that Kevin comes up with at the end of this film are just fantastic, aren't they? I mean, Marv getting electrocuted, and then you just see this skeleton there. The bricks getting thrown down from a like 7-story building onto his head there. It's enough to kill someone. What I love about it as well, the tool chest coming down and they're just listening. And then it slams them against the wall and he goes, "That was the sound of a tool chest falling down the stairs." And then they just break the noses back. I mean, it's slapstick comedy. It's violent humour for children, isn't it? I mean, you've just got to laugh and not take it too seriously. But this is a film that never gets old. I love both Home Alone movies, and I do prefer the first, like I said, mainly because of the Old Man Marley story. I think that's just a little bit more interesting than the pigeon lady in this film. That is one aspect of this film that was just a bit, you know. But you've even got Donald Trump in there. Yeah, remember that guy? But yeah, I absolutely love Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. You know, it's a great location for this movie to take place in. So yeah, number 1 is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like I said, this is just a little idea that came to me when Phil sent me that Pagemaster Blu-ray there. So what are your 10 most nostalgic movies? Leave it down below. I'll reply to you all, I promise. And what do you think of my list? You know, is there any movies you like on here that you don't like? You know, this is more of a personal list, so I'm guessing a lot of people's lists will be a little bit different there. If you're a YouTuber and you want to make this video, go ahead and feel free. It'd be great to see your videos as well. So for more top 10s, they'll be down below as well. Please consider subscribing to the channel because I've got a lot more top 10s coming. I've got lots more ideas here. So yeah, thank you so much everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video and I'll see you all in the next one.